Tune. Yes, a warm welcome to everyone to this webinar with SVT Play, and Malin and Sara will share the transformation story so far. And I'm Marcus Castenfors from CRISP, and with me I have my colleague Matthias, and will help out in the background. And just some housekeeping before we get started. So the webinar is recorded and will be published online. So please mute your microphones. And if you have any questions, please post them in Slido. So we'll have a section at the end, about 30 minutes, where you can pose questions to Malin and Sara. And we have the absolute pleasure to introduce Malin and Sara to the stage. And they are progressive thinkers in the product development world, and will share an exciting story about how they've driven change at SVT. So Malin Ströman, she's the CPO at SVT Play or SVT Online, and was previously head of development at SVT Barn, the children's offering at SVT. And before that, before SVT, she was a VP of product at Stardoll, a startup that became a seedbed for many notable startups in Sweden. And Sara Fahlander, she's the COO at SVT Online, with a huge passion for culture and learning and organization. And prior to joining SVT Online, she was a notable cultural journalist and producer of many significant TV series within the cultural space. So let's give Malin and Sara a warm welcome. The floor is yours. So we'll stop sharing my screen, and it's over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, I start sort of where you presented me, Marcus. It's so nice to be here. So yeah, as you said, my background is a journalist and a TV producer. It was magical to work in the TV factory. Fun most of the time, really tough every now and then. And SVT is a very, good and optimized company to do TV. I mean, it used to be a monopoly. For many, many years, there wasn't that much competition around, and therefore there's been quite a lot of competition within the company. You audition for the commissioning board to get the budget for your program or not. I judged myself extremely hard when I was working on the TV side, not so much with data, much more with my gut feeling. And I mean, you were always judged. You were judged within the company and also by the audience. If you did a popular program, you had a lot of viewers. If not so popular, quite often you got a front page in the tabloids. And that didn't create a safe, helping, sharing environment. You wanted to be the best producer to get the next fun production. It's not really weird, actually. But then in 2014, because I've been here forever, then I wanted to do something new. And I found this job at SVTI, as we're called, SVT Interactive. I didn't know a person at that department, but I knew that I was the person that knew tech the least. And that made me think about my strength. What am I good at? What can I best contribute with here with the SVT transformation into online? And also, to be clear, it wasn't until 2020 that SVT's online was supposed to, or even obliged to, contribute to our public service mission. So we've been here for a long time, but the transformation isn't always that quick.
And so when I came to SVT, it was about 12 years ago now. I had only a background in tech, in startup companies, smaller and bigger ones, and the last one was a big one. And when I came into SVT, I didn't watch broadcast that much anymore. And I thought internet was a really big thing. But I realized that that was not totally the case into the SVT that I came to. It was a web department, SVT Interactive, a department that today is delivering online services together with many more. But at that time, it was more or less 200. It was like a web page of a portal, 200 web pages, everyone putting the content they wanted, every program putting the content on that web page that they wanted to have there. There were no like user-centric idea. It was more like we have this program and we put the things that we would like to put according to our programs on those pages. And but the department itself was quite modern. They had just transformed the entire web to responsive design. We were quite, I mean, that was very, very early. So I've also felt that I was coming into a very innovative department. The cross-functional teams were already there, and SVT Play as a service was there. And then I started my journey on the children's department, where the broadcast figures declined very, very fast and at the absolutely earliest before anyone else. So there the urgency started to call for online to be more and more important, even if we didn't have the public service mission yet. So we started that journey, and we had about the same idea already by then, putting the right people in the right same room and put joint goals for them. But it was a very much smaller idea than what we have done right now with the entire SVT Play organization. So this is how SVT and many other companies are organized today. We have the different departments with the content commission department, the production department, online services department, communications department, editorial department, analytics department, and an HR department. It's not a rare setup. It's very common. But we have new challenges from what we come from. Even on our online services, the challenge is a new challenge. This is a McKinsey model that I like to try to explain the challenge out of. If we follow the horizon, the pink or red or whatever you want to call it, the pink horizon or the pink curve, that is the ongoing value proposition that we have for our customers today or our users today. Most of our users, 61%, they say that they come to SVT to catch up something that they did miss on TV, that they know that they normally watch on TV, but that they have missed for some reason. This is a value proposition, a business model that is not sustainable for the future, I would say, as the broadcast figures are declining fast. The blue line is the challenges we are targeting right now according to the competition that we have around us. We have to be much more quick, flexible, and relevant to our users. So we are working on just how to become that. And then the green line is more, we have to build something new for the future. So what is that new value proposition that we are trying to figure out? And right now it's pronounced as den levande destinationen för berättelser som engagerar dig, barnen och Sverige. In English, that might be the vivid destination for stories that engage you, children, and the whole of Sweden. And included in that, there are different need-based positions that we are supposed to target, that we are working out right now, how to actually put goals and KPIs on to lead us into the future. And when I started at the SVT Play organization, or the more of the entire online organization a few years ago, the best way to sell that we could not continue to work the way we did, saying that we were only 3 or 4 or 5 teams on the interactive department who delivered SVT Play, the best way to say that was that we cannot continue to just grow and grow and grow. SVT has a certain amount of money. There are no more money. So we cannot just add and add and add needs or resources. We have to start to convert other departments' skills into something aligned with what we have to achieve with the SVT Play goals. So we have to help out all other departments to switch focus and skills from broadcast to online. which, as Sara said, turned much easier at 2020 when SVT had the mission to actually deliver online. We had to turn out of to more than those teams that today at that point said that they were delivering SVT Play. They were at that time about 5 teams. We had to make many more teams out of those teams actually working with online to understand that we were doing this all together. No resources added, only new collaborations and united goals. And we have to start to find out how to build a new value proposition for the future. And this is a theoretical model that we base everything on this on, I would say. Some of you might recognize it. It's not at all new. It's an agile-like structure that much of the agile work is based on. But what is quite new to us maybe is that we have to quit competing with each other. We have so big tech giants to compete with. So let's compete with the tech giants and not with each other within our organization. Because when we do that, where we come from 3 years ago, I would say that many of us at SVT would say that we were in the competition corner to the very base left, where we had individual objectives. All different departments that you were seeing in the beginning had their own goals that they were supposed to reach. They were not at all always aligned with each other. They were separate goals, and they did not, I mean, the siloed departments themselves create not the right context for all the people who are supposed to deliver things together. So what we wanted to do was to move up forward, and we did quite fast have more joint goals, and we could find each other a little better. But what happens then in the middle is that everyone is meeting each other for synchronization, to sync what you are doing and what I am doing. I'm doing this and you are doing that. Good, then we know. But sitting in meetings to synchronize what you are doing is not valuable time, and it's not making us move fast forward. So what you actually want to do is that you want to put the right people in the right context with each other and have very clear, exact joint goals to then be able to collaborate together. In Swedish, collaboration and cooperation are quite similar to each other in the same word, but I think in English they separate quite well, that cooperation is fine, but it's collaboration that you really want to achieve, sitting in the same room, working together for the same goals. So this is what it's all based on. One example, for example, we were trying to find what examples could this competition be about. I think many people will recognize that one department saying, we want this social media account. Another one say they are not good at running social media accounts. We should do our social media accounts. And in the end, we had a floor of social media accounts that no one knew who was running, and no one knew exactly what effect they were having. So one thing was to start to, for example, find out how to centralize social media accounts and have the same purpose running them all together. So question, our North Star was quite fast. It was quite easy to find a North Star for SVT at that time. Even if we didn't have it from before, all the different departments had different goals, but the North Stars was quite easy for us to find out, to say that we as SVT should reach as many people in Sweden as possible. That is our North Star. We want everyone in the company to target the goal to try to find out how to get as many people, at least 8 out of 10 people in Sweden, to actually consume SVT every week. That is our North Star. So a question that we have for you to see if this is a way that you work too with your companies or not is, do you have a North Stars? Would you like to share that in the chat with us? Do you have a North Stars for your company? Do you need a North Star? Is there a good reason for you not to having a North Star to actually target all together in your company? So please help us out in a minute now and write in the chat if you have any thoughts about North Stars within your company.
Yes, feel free to chime in, create a dialogue here. So go to the chat. Answer the question or what springs to mind when it comes to North Star goals. Do you have one? And what are your thoughts? So please chime in the chat.
The North Stars has been, I would say, for us, one of the fastest and best pieces in the puzzle to take us forward to something. If we could agree on that, it was much easier to actually agree on more things after that, even if there has been loads of problems agreeing on anything. But on this was not that difficult.
Nobody was like up there, the reach compared to time spent. And there was quite a lot of discussions anyway. You know, we used to talk about time spent as a broadcasting company. But I think also it was really key for us when the 8 out of 10 showed up.
The time spent comes from that the rest of the business, the media business, are measuring eyeballs in when they sell their ads.
Yeah.
And we don't have that business in SVT, but we have compared ourselves in the competition with other media companies when it comes to time. So it's interesting, but it got quite fast actually to reset that.
We got a comment from Gisela. So advancing the world through engineering. Gisela, do you mind explaining a little bit about that North Star for your company?
Yeah, sure. So I work for Sandvik, and we are, of course, an engineering and innovation company. We have 4 business areas, all heavily focused on innovation and engineering. So we've recently, just for the fun of it, actually, to be honest, 3D printed in super heavy metal that we ourselves produce 5 world famous statues into one piece, just to see if it is actually possible, and it is.
Thanks for sharing.
That's
Great.
a great story.
Oh, indeed it is.
I can also see Pontus writing, missing that, unfortunately. Why is that a problem for you then? If you would like to share.
Yes.
I heard a yes, and then it was quiet. Yeah.
Feel free to raise your hand as well in Zoom if you have something to share relating to North Star.
Yes.
We continue. We can get back to that later on too, if someone gets up with something. This is quite a boring page, and I'm going to a slide, and I'm going to put a long time on it. So get started. This is a page where trying to explain the journey that we have trying to that we are on. Our journey in this transformation started with you, Marcus, being a part of it. Marcus Kastenfors, you helped us out. We were a broad group from competences from the company. And we gathered together for 2 days in real life, because then it was COVID time. And then we ran the entire transformation work through Teams. I'm kind of proud of that, because we had the setup ready to actually be able to do that without seeing each other. So most of the job has actually been through over the COVID time in Teams, and the entire transformation has still been able to take speed. But we started off with 2 days together in that broad competence group. And you helped us out to set the goals and the mission of the project, or the management group that we still have today, but it's not exactly the same people, but we started the journey off with you. And you helped us to first create the idea of how a toast would be produced, ordered, and delivered to a customer. And then after that exercise, we did the same setup with our own value stream that we at SVT deliver from from the very beginning of a program, how it starts with some sort of need or desire, how the content commission, like sets up the budget for a setup of programs, how we have the content production, the planning, the building expectation phase, pre-publishing, and then we are going forward with publishing the program so that people have access to it. We're building awareness when it's available. That creates some sort of personal value to our users. But the video experience has to be really good for that to happen. And we also want these users to find a reason to continue watching or to return later on. And then we analyze all this information to commission new programs. The thing we could agree on when doing this mapping, all the small grayish words below these parts are like ideas of hundreds of different activities going on within every phase. And the only thing we could agree on when working with this is that it was not fun and easy in any place to deliver anything of this. So we set entire vision of our work to that it has to be more fun and easy to work with SVT Plays goals, or for SVT Plays goals together. And what happened after that was that we could see that we are very good at the video experience, the video streaming, but it's not fun and easy. So let's start with the low-hanging fruits here. Let's start with putting the right people together in the same room that actually deliver video experience and have them working much more fast forward together. We could also see that we could create a value stream around the personal value that the users have when they find a video to watch. So we have put those people together who actually deliver how to find a video. And then we have a value stream working with the users to know what to watch before they come to SVT Play. And we have a value stream working together with creating the access, the clients, or the SVT Play web, SVT Play on mobile, and SVT Play on TV platforms. Those teams were the one that existed from the beginning. Those last ones creating the access, they were owning sort of everything and nothing when it came to the user experience. Now we try to involve so much more people into actually feeling and understanding that they deliver towards specific goals. The bet we made all together was that if we are going to reach more 8 out of 10 to increase the reach online for the future, the bet is that we need to increase the relevance and flexibility through more data. We did not have the data we needed, so we reprioritized resources so that we could get more data for everyone in the entire company to work with. We are talking about democratizing the data within the company for everyone to be more fast forward, flexible, and have more easy to target their goals. And then we have set some sort of proxy KPIs. Those are not exact goals. Those are more indicating that those streams actually are going to help us increase the retention to increase the reach. So we have health metrics for easy to use clients. We are checking off all the times that those health metrics actually say that our users can easily use and have access to our clients. We have a share of in-logged with consent to communicate. This is an indicator of that our relation stream can, in the most efficient way, communicate with our users on without having to pay too much for ads, for example. We have a proxy metrics for exposure to make it find it easy to watch the content. And we know that if they are exposed to more content than they came for, it's a good indicator that they will return more often. And we have error-free streams. There are loads of quality metrics for the watch video stream to see that they are actually delivering a great quality of video. And what happened when we, started to get data out of the bet that we need to increase the relevance and flexibility through data was that we also could create some sort of content stream working with relevant content, because these people working with the content got really interested in the data and came and asked us, are we a stream? Do we also, are we part of this value stream system? So this is sort of the idea, is that we take small steps, one step at a time, and by the steps, more people are included and more people get interested into what we do. And then we include them, because we cannot dearrange everything at the same time. It would, everything would fall apart then. So these are the 3 examples of what these small steps could be. The first thing we did as a very small step when starting out the entire journey was to try to map those teams that we actually had and see what dependencies there were between existing teams. And then we started to sort them into value streams. Those teams and streams have completely changed over these past 2 years, because sometimes they had to, leave some ownership of some product that they were owning to someone else's stream. And some people had to help out in another stream, and sometimes, so this was a first mapping. It was a first attempt to see, do we have teams with dependencies that can start to deliver those values that we are looking at? And then we have made loads of small steps to make them even more correct, more easy to work with together. Another example of a small step is that when we ask the video stream, what is your biggest challenge to make it more fun and easy to work together for SVT Play goals? They say, we don't have the video metrics for the video quality. So we started the entire ambition to make it more easy and fun to work together by implementing video metrics. That is a step on this journey. A third step is to explore how autonomous each value stream can be. What competences do each value stream have to actually be autonomous, to be able to release what they are working on towards our users without waiting for any other streams or teams to prioritize their things into their backlogs, because everything tends to otherwise just turn into endless backlogs where people just have to help out on things that they have no relationship to. So if we can make autonomous streams, the dream is that they should not have to sit and wait for everyone else. And the management group goals, those people that still see each other every week to try to facilitate all of this. We have 5 people, and we have still the same goals that we set up with you, Marcus. It's exactly the same. We've had exactly the same for 2 years or 3 years almost. The mission is that we facilitate and enable a more fun and easy way to work together for SVT Play goals. The long-term goals is, of course, that we should help out to reach those 8 out of 10. But we also want to check the EMPS that Sara is going to talk more about, and have the index of engagement that is of high figures, the same, or at least not worse than we had from before. They should increase, of course. And then our proxy KPIs on our work, when we are doing these much changes and so on, we want things to improve or at least be the same they were. So we send out questions to our coworkers and see the share of coworkers who know what proxy KPIs to focus on. And we want to see fewer ambitions in the SVT Play roadmap than we used to have. We want to see briefs in the form of hypotheses instead of how to increase the retention instead of what to do. We want to see either briefs of hypothesis or effects briefs. And then we also ask about the time to release code or publish content when needed, if that's if people see, the people we work with, if they find that it is easier than before or not. The things we do, we align goals and ambitions across all departments. We engage more co-workers in an efficient delivery targeting SVT goals. We facilitate goal-driven development for ongoing follow-up. We facilitate a flexible structure to place resources according to strategies. And we run tertiary reviews every 4 months. We let our top management know what we're doing and how we see that we help out targeting goals altogether. And you see the word facilitating here all over. We have no decision making in our groups whatsoever. There are no decisions taking. There's only how can we help out for more people to actually join a value stream, understand their goals, and so on. So question again for you. What metrics do you have for your management groups? We are interesting to see because we find that these are fun to work with, but there could be completely other ways of looking at what a management group should do or can do. So if you're thinking about your management groups, what do your management groups have as KPIs of your own work? Do you set KPIs of your own work, or do you only target the top goals? Do you follow up on your own work in your management groups?
Yeah, so chime into the chat. So write down metrics that you're measuring within the management group and within your company. Or if you're not in the management group, what metrics do you think your management team are focusing on?
Good, Marcus. What metrics should you maybe?
Yeah, or should. That's also
target?
interesting.
Because that's really interesting.
So chime into the chat. Sharing is caring. Let's do this. You might need a few seconds to think. What do you think is the most powerful metric for your management group, Sara?
Well, we met this autumn and talked about it again. And so what we're talking about now is that our employees, they need to be proud of working at SVT. So that's one goal that we're having for like the SVTI management group. So if they are, they'll probably, work hard for our services to do like good quality and things like that, but also as how we work, how is it to work here? Can we be proud of the situation it is for, can you be a parent here? Can you develop here? There's so many things in that word. So that's where we actually ended when we talked about it again.
And the costs are so big when we have to recruit new developers all the time. So if we can make them stay, we believe that if they are proud of working at SVT, then the chance is bigger that they will stay, even if someone else can offer higher salaries, for example. We don't have those top salaries to offer. So we have to offer something else. And then that's pride of working at SVT.
Great. We get some feedback in the chat. So Maria, EMPS and engagement. Maria, do you want to explain a little bit more?
We have very high ENPS and even higher engagement on IT department, but lower in the whole company. So I would like us to work better together and not be an IT department. So this is very interesting to hear.
Do you break the EMPS down into some smaller goals or like sub goals to get there? Because the EMPS is so big. I mean, it includes so much. So when you only look at the EMPS, it's hard to actually know how to go there.
Yeah. No, we don't break it down. No.
That is, to us, I mean, even all goals that have been on very high level, people understand that we should target them, but then it's hard for everyone to understand how to actually go there, because if everyone's just targeting the highest goal, there are like hundreds of fragmentized small things that everyone, and we are not sure that those are actually taking us anywhere, all those fragmentized small steps. So we have had lots of, I mean, discussions and workshops on how to actually group together and find sub steps to focus on.
But maybe we can inspire you a bit, because we will show some of them here in just a little bit in the presentation.
Excellent. We have another one from Tiago. We have PI, so product increment goals, I'm assuming. They're split into sprint goals, etc. Do you mind explaining a bit further?
Yeah, we have we meet every 12 weeks and you define the goals for the next 12 weeks. And in this period, we used to run 4 sprints, 3 weeks each. And what is measured as number is how many points I plan in the sprint related to the goal, and if I deliver the ones that I promised. It's like a really end of the line number, like 90%, 90, and above 90% is acceptable. Below, we need to explain.
How do developers feel about that? Are they stressed out about it, or do they feel that they have their own input into it?
And I think it's better than before, because before they were measuring like in points, story points. So we try to shift this. We don't deliver story points, we deliver the tasks that you promise and the goal of the sprint. So before we are really focusing measure story points, and you can see that people create more tasks than they should, or they pick the easiest ones. They have a lot of team problems. But I think when you do a more like group thing, we have to deliver together, and the goal is for the team. I think it's less stress actually, and you can keep the deliverables.
We find the difficulty when it comes to try to have very strict control of how much people can actually deliver. It's when we are 20 teams and there are dependencies between the teams, and they don't have the control on their own of exactly what will happen in the code, because it's complex. So the value stream thing is an idea to try to find how we can have less dependencies so that they can be more free and actually know better what will happen when they go into the code. But it's so difficult when it's so complex technology to have the control of exactly what will happen when you dig deeper into things, I think.
Yes, I think we have the same problem here, how to define the size of the models to be able to work together without touching each other. And we have a lot of conflicts, also emerging problems.
And we'll get the last comment from Gisela. Do you mind explaining your metric that you focus on?
Yeah, of course. We are currently very focused on emission reductions, and hence everything we do as a, how do you say, a looking glass upon it to see where we can reduce CO2e emissions. Of course, going ahead, we're looking at CSRD that is upcoming for us, for the biggest, I think the biggest 50,000 companies within the European Union, starting January 1st. I think all of us are looking very hard right now at emissions.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, there you could really create engagement and at least to me.
It is very inspiring, and especially this is something all of us are doing, so we can actually talk to each other. So I am in contact with multiple of the biggest Swedish companies to work together to find paths ahead to reduce emissions. And of course, we see the same problems and cooperate on how we put pressure on global suppliers, that we want data, that we want reduced CO2 emissions in their products. And of course, this is a challenge because most of them do not have emissions and climate on their radar, especially North American companies are just waking up to this, it seems, and we need to put pressure there now. And they do understand that this is something that is coming from the entire European Union. It's not just the Scandinavian countries that are exploring possibilities, but these are actually something that now we need to report on. And in the future, my guess is that we are going to pay taxes according with how we fail to reduce emissions.
But that kind of goal is also, you can, I mean, in my ears at least, you get creative at the same time as you say them. It's like, that can make me creative.
It is, indeed, especially software developers. Usually they know quite a few things about their app or whatever it is they are developing. And it just hasn't been a focus in the past to reduce the amount of emissions from software. Now they're actively doing it, and they can identify fairly quickly a number of things they can do and reduce their impact significantly.
Okie dokie. So to be able to be this flexible organization, there is quite a lot of energy put into what culture do we have and what culture do we need to have and what do we want with that. And we have a clear focus to work quite a bit with the culture on SVT or SVT Online as a department. The main goal is about the EMPS, and Maria, I saw you had the question. I'll come back to that. The main goal is sort of for us to be an attractive workplace, like Malin said. We need it to attract, to recruit, and also to keep the best employees. And this is then, of course, within the big competition around tech knowledge in Sweden and Stockholm. But it also, we need to be able to build world-class services for the audience. The culture that we try to live after as a department is explained and to be found in our manifesto. And you can see quite happy employees holding up slides here. I'm not going to go through it all. I'm happy to share it with you if you want to see it all. But here we try to put words on our needs to be, what do we need to be our best? What do we need to be able to deliver on SVT's goal? So the last manifesto, which was actually the third that we've done, it ended up being 5 slides or 5 pins, as you see down here. They are about diversity, about trust, independence, future and sustainability, or climate actually, and about staying calm in a constant ongoing change. The importance then of aligned based on goals, team autonomy and cross or even cross department collaborations that generates value for the audience. And in the beginning, it's quite funny actually. In the beginning, the first manifesto was very focused on us as a department. We know something special. We are needed. We can help you with this or that. But with both the second and even more the third version, we've grown into a much bigger we or us at SVT with focus on collaboration. We have to collaborate to be able to reach our goals. So the last time when we met, which was actually also during COVID, but this was the gap with like 3-4 weeks in October, November, where we could actually meet up. So we met for 2 days, which felt really weird. And we were around 35 managers, product owners, or different tech leads or specialists. And then we shared our thoughts about our needs. We almost reached to some kind of conclusion, but it didn't really feel like totally there. And what we did was then that we shared the as far as we come with it, with every single employee in the department. And when we did this the first time with the second manifesto, I was so scared. I thought, you know, no one's going to be happy. We're going to have so many comments, like it's going to be impossible to edit this into something that we can actually agree on. I was so wrong. The developer managers or other managers took it out to their groups. They read it, they talked about it, and they sent back feedback. And with that feedback, it was actually easy just to take things out or change a word or make it into something that felt so much better, to be honest. And it also, I mean, then it's get life in the organization, and it's something that we can all come back to and talk about and lean against, you know, when we're in trouble. So it's really, in the end, the manifesto is a co-creation. And for me, and this was actually probably before the second manifesto, I was super inspired by Agile guru Jeff Gottelf and his 7 building blocks of a learning culture. Because there was so much in them, it felt like home in a way. There was a lot that I could recognize, but there was also things that we wanted to dig into even more. One of them things was like empathy or psychological safety, which we had a special focus on to be like better at and learn more about for a period of time. But of course, you know, some of them have been more important to us than others. And the goals, as Malin talked quite a bit about, they're absolutely crucial to have common goals to work forwards. And that is important, like not for us just as a department, but it's needed in an even wider circle over the whole company. We need to have the same sense of urgency and understanding of our priorities and our focus. Otherwise, we pull in different directions. And I think that, you know, this to build the empathy that it's written about here as one of the blocks, I think that the agile processes that we have here with the retros, with the demos, there's so much about this, the learning, the sharing, and also building trust to dare to say, like, this didn't work so well for me yesterday. I think I need help to do a better job today. To be able to have that in an everyday discussion, in a daily or in one of these meetings, it helps us to build this trust and to work better together. Transparency has also, it's so important for us. You know, where I started about this like internal competition, I mean, that's the history within the company, and it's been quite difficult to change this, to want to share the mistakes and at all, you know, if the deal in the background is like we're sort of competing in doing this or that show or whatever, it's not weird that it is like that. But something amazing actually happened just last year. So you see the little square here. Malin talked about the product reviews. Well then, you know, for the play area and for the news area, they meet all the top managers in the company, and it's about learning and outcomes. Did we reach the goal? If not, why that? You know, how has we moved on with our services towards the goals? And then with the content stream that really wanted to be a stream, they started their review. It's also about learning and outcomes, where the different content productions tell each other, you know, how did we move on? Why did it end up like this? It's not really happened before. It's so interesting when it starts to work in the company. And then KEEK, that's a weird, it stands for knowledge, insights, and consequence. That's the management board. So they listen to the reviews and they look into the, you know, the world around us. And they're like, so what does this mean then? What do we need to do? And then they meet this extended management board, and they tell what they see and what they think and where we need to head. And then there is where sort of the key company activities gets created. So this is some kind of cycle that runs over the year, and it really helps out with a culture of transparency. So a last sort of organized question from me and Malin here. How are you doing with your learning organization? you know, how do you make it either work great, or what makes it difficult for you to be a learning organization? That we're curious on.
Yes, so feel free to chime in into the Zoom chat. What are your what springs to mind when you see the question on the screen when it comes to a learning organization? So please jump in.
And for us, as you said, Sara, it's, I mean, competing with the budget about each program. If I am the one to have continued budget next year, that has been an issue. Then it's hard. Then people are not eager to share their insights with anyone else. So the competing corner has not been a very good corner for us.
No.
Gisela writes lack of time. Yes, please elaborate a little bit more.
I think we all recognize this issue, to be honest. We all have a lot of things to do on our plate. And this, of course, in general, is an issue for, well, mental well-being for most high-performing companies, I believe. So yeah, it gets down prioritized, even though we do say that try to take a Friday without meetings and do try to upskill during the Friday, then of course, oh, look, people are available for meetings and suddenly you have no time again.
Thanks for sharing. And then with Maria, you say complacency. Being content or contentment.
Yes, thinking that you're already very good, so you don't need
We're already
to strive.
awesome. Yeah,
You're wrong. Yeah, something like that. That people don't think they need to change anymore because they're already content with the situation. So
How
that
can you
close things down.
How can you challenge them? Because I mean, in this complex world, everything is changing all the time. We know that you can never be, I mean, no person that today can know everything. Or I don't think so.
I don't think it's special individuals. It's like an organizational feeling. So maybe top managers, you should influence, that you can do more, that we have ability to change more than just staying in the same form that we already have.
I had a situation the other day where product owners wanted to run a project or a work forward, and group managers said that, yeah, but we have this learning week where everyone can, if they want to join in, to learn more about how to work with data. Because our competences, we need stronger data competence within the company, because we cannot recruit. We don't have the room to recruit people. So we have our own people, and they have be even stronger when it comes to data management. And then I have to be the one saying that, of course, we have to make space for learning data day. I cannot be the one saying that, can you make this even faster, or can you do it even more efficient, and say that you should not have a data sharing day. So you're right, the management have to absolutely support that we are learning. Meanwhile, we are producing, that we take time for that, but it's not always that case.
I would just, we do take time for individual growth, and sometimes for like hackathons and stuff, but I was thinking more like changing the organization itself, and departments, how team works together, and as on a larger level.
To be honest, Maria, it's not like all our departments say that we are part of the transformation and we put out time, or we put time for it. We are very much trying to just navigate where the will and interest is available. And, you know, as I said, when we've provided loads of data, then new people understand that, wow, this is interesting. Can I be part of this? So it's it's like an organism moving where it can.
Mhm.
I think that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Or the organism.
Okay, so this tries to show like how do we then create a flexible organization and at the same time a safe work environment of a feeling of safety and belonging. So if the gray boxes in the top, they're sort of the old departments or silos or whatever you call them, you know, there are more than them, of course, but there's like a few. The blue, green, yellow, orange, and red, that's the value streams, where we found people who's actually sort of head of the value stream, who gather people. They're not always like on the exact same level in the organization. It's a group which are needed to actually help us to move forward. And as you see, there are like different lines. So what we notice, quite often we need people from all the different departments into some kind of management group for the value stream, or for actually work together in the value stream. Then below that is more my organization at SVT Online. So I have a number of developer managers. As one part of their work, for me, it's very important that they don't have too big groups. We do have a bit of a turnover rate. They need to be, you know, working with leadership. And I think it's a smart thing that they have different focuses where they work all over the department, not just in play, but both play and youth and kids, to actually get this shared knowledge and learning within the department. So that could be someone who is like having a total focus on design, UX, and art director. There is someone with a tech focus. There is someone with an accessibility focus, and that could be a data focus. Right now, we're also working quite a bit with employer branding on our own to meet people and be able to recruit people into us. And then it's all the staff, all the employees. And we're running some kind of experiment here, because in the middle, the orange and the purple, they're very typical product teams. They're quite small teams. They own a product. They're cross-functional. It's very clear for them what they're working with and who they're working with. I wouldn't say easy, but ish. The green, that's like the biggest group. That is more SVT play. We try to work in a bit, you know, are we going more towards competence organization? We're still a little bit in the clients, like we have a mobile team and we have a TV team and a web team, you know, but we start to go towards like one developer manager having most of the UX and design, one having maybe the app competences, and then something else, you know. So it's a little bit of a mixture, but that's what we're trying out right now. Whereas the red one is the news department. They have totally mixed groups. They have 2 managers and they have like half of all the staff in every team. And then they've set up a process to actually understand it as a whole, but not, you know, it needs to be clear so you don't have to be involved in every single little bit. I think it's very clear for the employees which team they work in, of course, but you know how they do it. That's make it super flexible when it comes to doing changes within the organization or with value streams. We wanted maybe to go there with play. It felt too complex. It didn't really work. But it's really interesting right now to have this kind of experiment.
One thing that we know, Sara, is that most people likes to have a home team.
Yeah. And the manager for a rather long time.
And they like to have one manager for a rather long time.
Yeah. And
it's not always easy to solve that when we have to be flexible at the same time.
Okay. And then another thing that I do a lot of at work, if you jump down a slide, is to actually measure. So we measure a few things. The EMPS, Maria, right now it's 48. It used to be 56, and then COVID came and people started to work from home, and we dropped down to 40. And I was like, oh my God, you know, what happened? But then the only thing we could do was to ask questions. So I started and set up a pulse survey where we during COVID wanted to have a little bit more control, you know, how is it with well-being working from home? So we sent out every second week. People were quite good in answering, I must say. And then the questions, they were every week, like describe your situation at work. Do you generally have a reasonable workload? And can you talk to your manager when needed? So this was some kind of bottom line to know, you know, how are we out there? Then when the EMPS at one point dropped, it's so easy to add a question in the pulse survey and ask like, this happened. What do you think? You know, why? What's your thought about this? And then people answer, it's friction in the organization, especially around and in the less agile half. Yeah, we know that, you know, what can we do to help them maybe in collaborations or whatever? And then someone said, remote work has taken the toll of on the culture we have built. Now the same affiliation, oh God, I can't see, no longer exists. So by asking and trying to break it down, it's so much easier for us to act on it. Then when it came to the value streams, there were new things that we wanted to know more about. So we started to ask questions about collaboration. You know, is it easy to, do you have the possibility to get help when needed, and can you help others, you know, if there is a bigger need, and about effect. And where we're asking the questions like, are you aware of which goal? Do you have a clear goal to work at? And then some kind of agility or like moving fast. Is it easy for you and your team to release or publish things without being like blocked by other teams? So then we ask them 2 times a year. And all the different colors there, they're actually different value streams, but it's also the children area and the news area. Doesn't matter who is who, but as you can see, it's actually moving quite a bit. And then it's interesting to go in and see like, okay, why aren't they happy now? So people are in that stream, they can actually go back and like, you know, we don't seem to be clear on goals here. What can we do about that? Or something goes up, like what are they doing right now that maybe others could copy and do as well, because it seems like they are very agile in the way they release code or whatever. So this I do quite a lot of, and to me it's such an important part of leadership, is to be really interested in results of surveys and also take the opportunity to ask questions around it, because leadership takes time. It's a skill and it is a mindset. And I think I stole this from someone. I actually don't know how, but for me, leadership is to enable dynamic response ability. I mean, in Swedish, it's ledarskap, skapa ledare, to create leaders. You want to have a lot of employees who can sort of lead themselves, who needs to understand context and where we're going, but to helps to move like us forward in the change. And just to sum up a few things of what we actually talked about. So I think that to create this culture, to be able to work in this flexible world, you have to have this freedom and trust on one side, but the accountability on the other. So bottom line, goals, and then also purpose or reason to be. What challenges do we need to solve here? And why? Why do we need to solve them? And then an autonomous team with this knowledge, they will be super innovative. And hopefully they're experiment driven. But we also see in our teams that there is a very strong sense of responsibility for secure and stable services, because that's a super important why for public service. We need to be there when something happens. And then if you can feel that and understand that, that's what you work for. this about time for learning. Yes, it is difficult, but I think that it has to be part of everyday work. But it also have to be special occasions. Could be Hack Fridays, or we have something called a tech sprint twice a year. It's a 2-week sprint for innovation. It's totally driven by employees. It's their engagement and their ideas that they want to test. And there is so much fantastic development that actually been done that are helping us in our services. But an equally as important thing is the networking, the collaboration, and fun with colleagues over the whole department. And also now people from new departments want to join, because it's a possibility to actually get smarter together and to understand, like, who am I working with here? What could we do together if we worked in new teams maybe? So this is how we start every term. It's a great thing to do. That was questioned in the beginning, like, what are you using 2 weeks for, like some kind of learning innovation? Couldn't you just say what they were supposed to build? And now it's totally different, because employees who knows, like, you know, the why and so on, they are very initiative around that, which is quite fantastic. So for us, Malin, it's a lot about getting the right people to actually find each other, to help groups that don't really understand why they should work together, see each other and have some kind of, you know, to do that on a regular basis, and to share things, insights and mistakes. And here again, the agile process with the demos and the retros, they're really helpful, not just for the tech department, I want to say. And then top management, I think they need to focus on this learning organization. Everybody, as many as possible, should know as much as possible. An organization where data is in place is important, and to then democratize the data. So it's easy to find and easy to understand for the whole company. And I also think that, you know, to get this, what's happening around us in the world, and to share that with all the employees, so we can start to understand, you know, how does that affect us? That information needs to be transparent. It's absolutely necessary. And finally, then I'm done. I think that all of us need to be brave enough to say that we don't know every now and again, and that we don't have a clue about the next step, for example, but that you're willing to test something new. Because the same goes for you as a leader with your management group. You know, I always recruit people that know things that I don't know, and quite often they're better than I am at so many things, because I grow then and we grow together. So my goal is actually not to be needed at all. And then it's time for me to move on and do something else and share what I'm good at some other place, and actually to learn new things. That's it from us.
So inspiring. Well done, Malin and Sara, for sharing that story. And I think it's not common that companies can be this transparent of what they've learned going through this type of change. So feel free to chime in with questions. So you can do that in Slido or in the Zoom chat. We're flexible in that way. So feel free to ask some questions. What are you curious about when it comes to this change in particular? We can start with one question. Do you only recruit tech people based in Stockholm, or do you recruit people in other locations as well?
Well, we have actually a few recruited around Sweden, because sometimes it's tough to find the good ones. But as an employee on SVT, you need to be based in Sweden. You don't have to be based in Stockholm, but you have to be based in Sweden. And then, you know, there's like, how much are you supposed to be at the office? So SVT as a company wants us to be here like 51% more than the majority. And to be honest, so not all are then, but we say that sometimes if we have like a day of culture or inspiration or get together, you know, then we want people to come here. But it is possible to work from other places in Sweden.
Excellent. a question here. What was the greatest challenge and or pitfall? Malin, what do you think? What was the greatest challenge?
Well. The greatest challenge all the time. I mean, it's not something that you fix. It's something that we work with all the time. It's to make more people within the company to join. Because as long as we do still have, of course, the different silos, each department still have another mindset around what they used to do, what they do. And to actually hook up with more people and say, Carol, let's do this together instead. It's a continuous journey and discussion. And sometimes the other people you meet say, wow, yes, let's do this. I'm with you. Let's bring in my resources in when it comes to people, and we can work together. And sometimes they just sit and stare at you and say, I have not a clue what you're saying, such strange words, and I don't understand what you're talking about. And then you feel frustrated. And you because I think I'm a reasonable person, but the other person around me doesn't think that at all. And then I have to back off, and it's like, it's not mature or ready, or we cannot do that there, because there are so many things around that department or that team or whatever that is not set on place yet. So they cannot even imagine what it is that we are doing. And then we have to, help them out to bring the data, demo more, bring people into our demos to understand what it is that we are doing. Everyone has to mature in their own tempo. So that is still the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
It's always been a pitfall. I tried to, many years ago, we had an idea that we would celebrate when we were doing mistakes, when we agreed on that we had made mistakes. The thing is, then when you work agile, the mistakes are not very big. You often can see them before they are a big mistake. And especially since we are talking about trying out and testing things because we don't know, we experiment. And if the experiment is not good enough or working its way, we just quit the experiment and go back to where we were. And that way of working doesn't create big pitfalls, I would say. The pitfall would be in that case when we have had co-workers who doesn't feel comfortable with what we are doing and quit the company. That would be the big pitfall.
I see Pontus asking here, how do you define a value stream? What are the criteria to draw a line between them? Good question.
Well, the idea is, the simple idea is, what people do need to sit in the same room every week to agree on how to target the goals, the proximetrics that you've set up for the value stream. That's the simple version. If we could have all the competences that were required to actually also develop and deliver on each platform, on TV, on mobile, on web, and develop content. If all those people could be in the same value stream, they would be autonomous, and they would be able to just run their own business all the time to deliver value. But that is not the true case. So there are dependencies between them. They have to meet each other and say, are we going to run this work now or later? They have to plan. But the idea of a value stream is some sort of value that you deliver for our users together. And when you have set a proximetric of that, and you have defined the people who are required to develop that, then you have a value stream.
And I think quite often they have some kind of rhythm together. They have some kinds of meetings because they need to meet each other to be able to reach the goal. But as you say, to be totally autonomous and be able to move forward. Like, we're not really there yet, but I mean, the goal is, of course, for them to be as flexible and autonomous as possible. And then they will change over time, I think, you know.
One of those steps, small steps that came up when we evaluated the value stream work at some time was that, yeah, but this is silos too, isn't it? Yeah, it is silos too. When it comes to user journeys, this creates silos too. So we have talked about how to work with the UX, the user journeys cross over the value streams. So who are keeping control of where the true pain points of our users is, so that we can prioritize the right things.
That's an interesting concept. So UX design takes that holistic perspective of the value stream and kind of helps out.
The idea is that we could explore that.
Yeah, we get a question from Matthias now. So floor is yours, Matthias.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your story, and it's incredibly inspiring to hear you guys talk. And it's obviously, you've definitely, you've walked a few miles so far, and I assume there's still journey to be explored. My question is, you mentioned the North Star, the big picture goal of reaching 8 out of 10. I guess, is it Swedish citizens, or at least potential audience, right? What are some of the things you're working on now to explore what you could do with SVT Play? Maybe you have something new to announce that's new and improved
Secrets.
and ready to go. What can we look forward to?
The question is good, because I'm going to it. If I tell you, I can explain the way we would like to talk. The idea, we have launched an in-log 2 days ago on SVT Play. So that's what the question is targeting at, is like we finally has implemented and launched an in-log possibility on all platforms, so that users now can create an account and they can see the history over different platforms. If they switch device, they will still be able to continue watching where they ended. But to be honest, what we are actually creating for when it comes to the ambition is for the content development to be as relevant as ever possible. So we are actually not implementing the in-log just for implementing an in-log. That's not what we're doing. And for SVT, we are not implementing an in-log to be able to charge money for services inside the in-log, which would be the normal case for any other company. But we see that if we know more about our users and they can choose themselves if they want us to know more about them or not, we can create the best ever content and expose the best ever content for them coming to our services. So the entire idea is for us to be able to know how to be more relevant.
So exploring why people watch what they do, maybe what their preferences are, and yeah, sounds like a lot of data might be incoming.
And what they are not watching, what they are not interested in if they are younger people. Let's be honest. I mean, most of our users are 50 or older. So we need to understand people that are younger than 50 years old to be relevant for the future. So we don't express or say in our SVT Play roadmap that we have to build an in-log. We say that we need to be more relevant for our users and understand more about them. And then it's just in the in-log issue, this is not true, because this is a thing that has been, secured by everyone in the entire company if this is the right path to take. But normally we would say that we would like to achieve this effect, and we let the developers choose what things they would like to develop for us to achieve that effect.
Thank you.
So this has been a true part of that journey to actually practice how to express effects instead of what to do.
Fantastic. Do we have one more question? Oh, we have. How do you keep people accountable? How does the routine look like? Accountability. Any special agile practices?
Yeah, but I think it's quite a lot of discussion and to understand, you know, what the effects are for our way of working. I mean, of course, there are a few like technologies and systems that are bottom line, you know, but the teams are very free to decide how they want to work, what they want to build with. But they need to understand that if we have a problem, like an incident or something, they need to come in and help out, or online. But they need to help out if we have a problem. And I think what that creates is like an innovative and interested and engaged team, and actually very few problems, knock on wood, because I think they understand, you know, I don't want to help out at 11 o'clock on Christmas Eve. So therefore we need to build it. Like if we get the freedom to be creative and to have a lot to say with this, then, you know, that's the other side of it. So it's a lot about a discussion and some kind of agreement, or at least also delivering. I mean, the actual, let's say, when it comes to incidents, it's actually not on my department, it's on our sister department. Then we need to give them as much good information as we can. We need to explain for them how things work, you know, as far as we can, to help them to be their best if something happens. And every now and then you need to maybe help out. That's just one example. Yeah.
But the idea is for our developers to build as so secure and good things that they are proud, and so that they don't need to help out when they don't want to help out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Excellent. I think that was the last question. 3 minutes to go. Let's see if we can have a final one. So please jump into the chat. So I think we can conclude. We can have our lunch now, right? And before we conclude, I think everyone who's comfortable, turn on your cameras, and then give a warm applause for Malin and Sara taking the time to share this story, inspiring story about change, about empowering teams, about transparency, about culture, learning, and so much good stuff. So you're an inspiration to us all. So let's give a warm round of applause, everybody.